let's talk about the minutes of December 5th. Do we have any further comments or questions on the minutes? Do I hear a motion?
I move. I second. We approve.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Very good. Garrett's not here, so I assume we don't have a treasurer's report. Is that true?
I would suspect so.
Okay, very good. And, oh, by the way, I understand the people aren't hearing us as well as they should, so everyone make sure you're mic'd, including whoever sits in the hot seat, just so that everybody can hear everything. Okay, okay. It looks like it's about 6:05, and before we go any further on 2043 Main Road, something's been bothering me since last month, and that is that when this first came before us, we said it's premature, this has to be, it's because it's in the flood zone, the Coastal Commission won't let it be built unless it's not more than 50% of the value of the existing property. And but this time, when you guys came back with these plans, you said, oh no, we've got a way through that. And that bothers me for two reasons. If it's not a good way through that, I don't think it's appropriate. But secondly, I still think that maybe if it looks to us, I mean, just like a court can take cognizance of facts not in evidence, I can take cognizance of the fact that you're doubling the size of the house, you're adding a full kitchen and a bath and a half. It's got to be worth more than the existing house. And I don't know where we go from here. So I don't know what you want to say.
May I speak on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. For the record, I'm Christopher Wise, architect, representing the Californios, the owners of 2043 Main Road. It's a conundrum, I agree. And I think that the owners hoped that you would review this project solely on its merits in terms of appropriateness to the district. And then let what happens happen afterwards with the building inspector and the flood zone and zoning and the septic system.
If you brought me a 20-story building, and we know zoning doesn't permit 20 stories down there, I would say, wait a minute, this is silly. Get approval of that first.
That may be true.
Yeah.
But if I take a plan to the building inspector and say, can I have a permit for this? The first thing he's going to say is, well, where's your certificate of appropriateness? No,
I agree. We do not precede the building inspector, but the Coastal Commission seems to me comes before us.
I don't even know what the Coastal Commission has to say about it.
Oh.
It's the building
inspector.
It's the building
Okay.
inspector who makes a call about the value of the structure.
Okay, the value of the structure.
And whether it's in the flood zone and all that.
Okay, yeah.
It's not the Coastal Commission.
Okay, sorry, building inspector. Very
so
good.
that's our conundrum.
Yeah.
Either we go to the building inspector first with a, and I can't go to the building inspector with a half-baked project.
All right.
And he's going to say, well, where are the drawings and where are the estimates?
The building.
So
Yeah.
And we don't want to have to do all that work, even if he approves it, and then have what we've shown him not approved by you.
Okay.
So that's,
Okay, I understand. It's a kind of catch-22.
The owner, it is a catch-22. The owner's taking a big risk that this will be completely rejected.
Yeah.
And in which case, we'll come back to you with a design jacked up 10 feet in the air. How about that? That's not a threat. That's, that's it. That's the problem. That's the whole point is going to be facing with rising sea levels.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Absolutely.
That's true.
A couple of weeks ago, the water was way up there.
Yes.
So,
All right. Then let's begin.
okay. I've done a little handout again. I made some minor revisions to the plan, taking into account some of the comments that were made last time.
Okay. Sure.
Well, we've just discussed the issue about the flood zone and all that. And as I say, I'm hoping the commission will review this project simply on its merits in terms of appropriateness and
Architecturally.
and architecturally, and the commission will find that it is not incongruous with the surrounding district. And the incongruous notion is almost easier to deal with than the notion of appropriateness, I think.
Okay.
But I'm sure you all remember the Chapter 40C language in the enabling legislation for the historic districts in Massachusetts. And there's a line in there that says the commission shall not make any recommendation or requirement except for the purpose of preventing developments incongruous to the historic aspects of the architectural characteristics of the surroundings and of the historic district.
And of the property itself.
And the property itself.
Yes.
We looked at the design last time, and I have added a little box on the floor plan, metrics of the project. And what I found is that in footprint, which is the area of the building on the ground, living space, and the volume of the structure itself, the additions all amount to between 79 and 81% of the area, living space, and volume of the existing building. So it's not quite doubling the size of the house.
Okay.
The existing living space in the house is only 1,212 square feet. The additions increase the living area to 2,186 square feet. I did a little research with the Board of Assessors assessment cards and looked at the neighboring houses to see how much living space they have. And I find that at the new size of the project at 2,186 square feet, it falls right about in the middle of the size of the adjacent houses. 2041 has 2,142 square feet. This is according to the assessor's cards. The assessor's cards are not necessarily all that accurate.
No.
They give a range. 2042 has 2,476. 2043 has 2,186. 2040 has 2,552. 2447 is a little smaller, 1951. And 2048 has 2,810 square feet. So I think that the size of the building is, as proposed, is completely completely congruous with the size of the other houses around it.
Although I assume the lots are different.
The lots are different, yes.
But
But this is still quite a deep
it's a
lot.
deep lot. I do recognize that.
Are you going to build out over the new septic system? Is
We are
that-
not going to build out a new septic system. It's held just short of a new septic system. Well, I can't remember the figures exactly, but I have the site plan, and it's in conformance with the setbacks for the septic system. Mr. Kendall raised a question last time about the size of the windows in the addition. And I have, in fact, I've sized the windows down a little bit. And I put more information about glass size and so forth on the drawings. What I found was the existing windows, they're cottage style, so they're 8/12s, but the lower sash has a glass size of 25 inches by 25 inches, clear glass. And the windows that I'm proposing, the largest one has a glass size of 27 by 24. So only 2 inches wider and only one, and in fact 1 inch
Narrower.
shorter. they end up being bigger windows because they're 6/6s rather than the cottage style 8/12. And then the one other thing I addressed was Mr. Kendall's concern about the size of the meeting rail. He expressed a preference for.
Well, we like to see a drawing.
You'd like
That
to
was
see-
the point. And there was no drawing.
I've done it.
Good.
And what-
And the brand and so on.
Yes, yes. So what I've done is I've taken off the internet the sections of all the meeting rails of all the standard windows, starting with Pella Architect that we're proposing to use, and Pella Reserve, which is very similar to it. The Pella Lifestyle, which Mr. Kendall expressed a preference for. Anderson 400, Anderson A, Marvin Ultimate, Marvin Elevate, and the standard old
Can we
Brosco.
keep this when you're done?
Yes, you certainly may.
Because we can use this going
Yeah.
forward, quite frankly.
Yeah, so that's why I did it, because I thought it was
Thank you.
helpful.
It's very helpful.
So the thing that's most visible is the lower rail of the upper sash. And on a Pella Lifestyle, it is admittedly quite small, it's 1.25 inches. The Pella Architect, which I would prefer to use, and I'll explain what that in a moment, is an inch and 9/16, and that's 5/16 inch difference. What a real, the meeting rail, the bottom rail of the upper sash of a real antique window, I never got a chance to measure one of those. And I will point out that the reason I couldn't measure it is that every antique window in the district has a storm window on it, which obscures the size
We've measured them.
of the meeting
They
rail.
come to about 1.25 inches.
It comes to about 1 inch.
Kit,
Yeah.
to answer your question, it's the window that has been used back in, when windows have been approved by the commission, I think has been the Brosco window. Is that correct?
Well,
The Brockway Smith?
I'm sure there have been Brosco windows, but there are many other.
Okay, well, just to show you, that is the Brosco window proportions
Yes.
right there.
It's right there. Yeah, I think.
So, this is the old, the
Yeah.
classic Brosco
Yeah,
window,
yeah.
and that's 15/16. And you're, well, continue.
Well, there are lots of non-Brosco windows that are in the district, modern,
Yeah.
double glazed windows with aluminum frames and all that. There are a number of them in the district. My only argument here is that I really prefer, even though the meeting rail is slightly larger, I prefer using the Pella Architect series for two reasons. One is that the Lifestyle has this very unattractive jam liner, plastic jam liner. It's exposed on the outside below the upper sash. That's this piece here. Whereas the Architect series or the Reserve series has a much more discreet
Jam liner.
jam liner with just a narrow slot in it. The other disadvantage to Pella
course.
Life.
That's in black, so it doesn't really,
It doesn't
it's
show,
not apples and
but
apples.
if you get a white, if you
Yeah.
get a white window, this is
Yeah.
all white, it's painted the same color. Whereas with a Lifestyle window, you'll get this sort of taupe colored
Yeah.
thing. The other disadvantage to the Lifestyle windows is you could only get full screens with them. And the other windows, the Pella Reserve or the Architect series,
Get a half screen.
you get a half screen, which is the whole, full screens on windows, they just make the whole window go away when the sun's shining on it. So that's my argument for preferring the Architect series to the Lifestyle, even though the meeting rail is a little bit larger.
This is what's been used as a replacement window. This is Boston Sash.
Yes,
And this is where the sash itself has been replaced rather than the whole window.
yes,
And the balances are in the actual
Yes.
sash.
Yeah, I know how that works, yes.
Okay, so that's what we have sort of, well, what we're trying to do is make sure that we don't get, well, there were things about replacement windows, Anderson, replacement, what's the name of it? Renewal.
Yeah,
And all of that. So we want to just make sure that we have some sort of guideline for the kind of windows that are approved. And that's why we require that architects bring in a drawing of the window that they're going to present to us. So yours is the Pella Reserve, or is it the Pella Architect?
it's either one.
And-
My
and-
understanding now is that Pella is phasing out the Architect series and only using it for their replacement series, and that the Pella Reserve.
Oh, I just have to look at this, yeah, the actual, what we're looking at is the actual, but see, when we get into these windows, they're not like the old windows, because you have something showing underneath here.
Yes,
You have this under here. So when these measurements are shown, what they're showing is the entire thing.
Well, I've given you two measurements. I've given you the glass to glass, and then I've given you just the size of the
Outer rail.
outer.
This is what's here? Just the mullion.
It's the bottom rail of the upper sash is what it is.
Okay, that is the 9/16. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've sort of said 1.5 inch is fine. Well, that's 9/16, so it's
16.
over it, so that's fine. I mean,
Okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
but we just needed to have a drawing so we could look at it, because we don't know what these windows have that people have brought in. That's why we required the drawing.
Yeah. I mean, is this an adequate drawing? I mean,
It's fine, I'd like to have it for myself.
As I say, I can make many copies of this
Good.
as the commission would like.
Certainly be helpful to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good, very good.
So, I mean.
Oh, one more question on windows. On this drawing, you show, well, first of all, at the last meeting, you showed us this photograph of an installation
Yes,
of a sash that covers the vinyl flange that you
Yes.
usually see.
yes.
And it makes a much cleaner looking trim on the outside of the
Yes, it
window.
does.
And then on this drawing, you're showing us how you achieve it.
Yes.
And so this is 5/4 stock then?
Well, I mean, 5/4 stock
Well-
gives us a slightly bolder casing on
Yeah.
the outside.
Well, like the older ones are.
Like the
Right,
older ones,
right.
and when you shingle it, if you use 3/4 and you shingle next to it, the bottom edges of the shingle will
Yeah,
stick out
right.
3/4. So I like to use 5/4.
Okay,
Because
good.
the shingles stay behind the front surface of the casing.
Okay, so what is the window that's used then, because it does not have the vinyl flange?
It does have the vinyl. This is the flange right here.
But it doesn't project out.
Well, so I'm covering it up, that's the whole point.
Well, how do you do that?
I push it back, okay?
Well,
So they normally,
I'm curious because I want to know how you do it.
yeah, so.
I mean, it's
so-
wonderful what you're doing, yeah.
So normally there's a clip that goes in here,
Yeah,
and it comes back like that, and it has to go against the sheathing.
yeah.
And that pulls the flange out to the front.
Yeah,
The Pella windows, this flange has a little slot in it into which you can put what they call a frame expander.
uh-huh.
And you pop the frame expander into there, and it extends across the sheathing.
Perfect,
And
yeah,
that allows you to push the window back
okay.
and bring the casing over the flange.
Because I know you used a Marvin window on one job, and I was a monitor, and you said you'd done the same detail.
I don't think I ever used it. I don't use Marvin windows. I don't like Marvin.
Okay, well, I thought it was anyway. It must have been a Pella then.
It was probably a Pella, yeah.
Anyway, I was always curious. You said you had to use a replacement window, that didn't have the flange.
Well, the replacement windows do have a flange.
They do,
Yes,
okay.
they do. And generally, when you put any replacement window into an old opening, you end up with a flange sticking out.
Okay, okay. It clears that up, good.
Because the replacement window, you don't take the exterior casings off.
Can I have my pen back?
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, that's very good, and that window, that's fine with us.
Is that a second page of detail, or?
No, no, it's
okay,
just,
one-
this is just the other sheet that I brought up. These are the existing conditions, you already have that.
I've got that.
And let's see. I guess that's all I have as a question, okay. Okay,
It's also possible on some of the windows, I had a contractor who ended up using an Anderson A-series window,
mhm.
and he used a 5/4 casing and cut a notch in the back of the 5/4 casing.
Yeah, I rabbited it out.
And rabbited it out and put it over that extending flange. And that worked very effectively too.
That's a lot more work, though, because you have to miter and somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it settles windows.
Okay, windows are settled. Anything more?
No, that's my presentation.
That's your presentation? Okay,
And everything else is the same as the last proposal then?
Except that I have sized down the windows.
Yeah,
If you compare this drawing to the
prior
drawing I
one.
submitted, the windows are a little bit smaller.
I can see that, yeah.
okay. I have one email I would like to read into the record, and then I assume everyone's here to make comment, and you'll all get your chance. So this one is to the members of the Westport Historical Commission from Sharon Connors. As a resident of the Westport Historic District, I am hereby voicing my concerns regarding the proposed addition to the residents at 2043 Main Road. I also have the experience of serving on the WHC for 8 years with 5 years as chair. First, let me state that the petitioners are very nice people and good neighbors. I happen to be the realtor who acted as the listing agent when the petitioners purchased the house. As a former member of the WHC, I was careful to make sure they understood that the house is in a historic district and that their options for any additions to the home would be minimal at best. I also made sure they understood that the existing house was a 3-room house with 1 bedroom on the 2nd floor. Since I knew they have 2 children, I asked how they would manage. They said that the kids could sleep with their cousins. The petitioners have family in 2 other properties on the point. The proposed addition is inappropriate to the size and location of the existing home. The proposed addition is more than 50% larger than the existing home. The lot is small, and the newly installed septic system is for 1 bedroom. I recognize that lot size and septic size are not under the purview of the WHC, but these facts are nonetheless important. The visible impact of the proposed addition would be enormous. The house is viewable from 360 degrees, as most of the houses on the point are. The house is viewed from the main road, not just standing directly in front of the house, but is quite visible from both sides as one drives or walks up or down the street. The entire addition would be visible from the street, especially from the north side. This proposed addition would have a negative impact on the current house, on the neighborhood, and on the entire historic district. For these reasons alone, the WHC could deny the petition. I am very concerned about the precedence of expanding a house of this size by such a large square footage, and how such a precedence would influence other petitioners in the future. I'd like to suggest one possible compromise, a 1-story addition of about 300 square feet, which would give the petitioners ample room for a half bath and a new kitchen. I'd suggest eliminating the small connector area and have the addition butt up against the house directly, with the side walls at least 1 foot in on each side, such that the addition is obvious as just what it would be, an addition. They would need to relocate their bulkhead if they want one. I hope you will reconsider your previous straw vote and ask the petitioners to revise or withdraw their proposed plans. Thank you for your time and attention. Sharon L. Connors. Okay. I'm vacating that spot because I have a feeling other people would like to talk. Who's first?
Red,
Yeah.
you also have an email from, what's her name? Suzanne Carter Peck. Suzanne Carter Peck? Yeah.
Did I, okay, do you
But
have a
she-
copy of it?
Yeah, I
'Cause I'm not-
do. She
okay.
wanted it read into the minutes.
Okay,
I'd like to read it, might have a copy.
okay, you'll read it? Okay, any of us can read it, that's fine. There you go.
If you have a copy.
I do.
Well, we'll put it, yeah.
You want it?
Sharon or Suzanne?
Suzanne.
Hi, everybody. I'm Skip Carter. I'm one of the owners abutting the residents of 2041 Main Road. Unfortunately, my brother and sister, the co-owners, were unable to attend because this matter has been referred to this committee when many of the people who generally frequent the area are out of town, or in some cases, out of the country. Okay, I'll get to my sister's comments second, but other comments that I have to offer here are as follows. A review of the minutes of last month's meeting revealed that there was a meeting presentation by Greg Califano and his architect about an addition to the building at 2043 Main Road. Subsequently, there was a call for comments by the chairman. We heard first from a board member, Henry Swan, who asked questions and in summation spoke against this proposal. Then we heard from 4 abutters, all of whom spoke against this proposal. Then, from the board, there were comments about the size of the neighboring houses, that they were much bigger structures, and that this salt box house, and somehow we were informed that this justified adding to the property another structure, because it would somehow make the sum of these 2 buildings bigger and more closely resemble the neighboring houses. So there was clear opposition voiced by 5 individuals, almost no support for the proposal other than it would increase the size of the property, of the building on the property, followed by a straw vote of the committee with 4 board members supporting it. I'm holding a copy of the mission statement of the Historical Commission, I'm sure you probably all have one, for the town of Westport, and reading that this commission has 2 sets of responsibilities. First, to the town as a whole, which I'm not addressing, and second, to oversee the Westport Point Historic District through a review and approval process that seeks to, 1, preserve and protect the distinctive characteristics and settings of buildings and structures in the district. Second, to assure that alterations and additions to all buildings and structures are not incongruous to the historic aspect or architectural characteristics of the existing building. Given that the design of this dwelling at 2043 Main Road is known as a salt box house, in fact, the Google reference to salt box houses includes a picture. I just happen to have some here.
We're pretty familiar with these.
Well, I just need to make sure.
Okay.
Okay, then according to the mission statement of the Historical Commission, your mission committee members is to preserve the distinctive characteristics of this salt box house and to assure that additions are not incongruous to the architectural characteristics of the building. Is anybody unfamiliar with which one of those 4 houses is the one I'm talking about?
I'm confused.
I don't know where the salt box came in.
That's what we're talking about. This house is a salt box.
It isn't a salt box, it's a cave, isn't it?
They're saying that they're calling itself a salt box.
Well, who was calling it a salt box?
I believe that's the way it's been defined. Can you look at those and tell me which house we're talking about?
No, I can tell you what a salt box is. It's this one right here, of course.
Yeah.
And that's the house that we're discussing.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. That's exactly the house that we're discussing.
No, it's not, actually. It has to
This
do
is
with...
the house we're discussing. This one right
Well, no,
here.
the first page, right here. I've got from last week.
This is the
Yeah,
house.
and if you look at this house, it matches the design of that.
What did I do with it?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I'm sorry, but,
It doesn't have a
shoot.
sloping roof,
I was looking at this at
The
home
salt
and left
box
it at
Doesn't
home.
have a sloping
well,
roof.
this one.
yeah, the Saltbox house is a two-story house in the front, and then it slopes back like a lean-to with a one-story house in the back. That is the classic New England
And-
Saltbox.
This is just reversed with a sloping side on the front.
No,
Well,
because the ridge line, the
it-
ridge line hasn't been changed. This is a centered ridge line with some dormers on the back,
Oh,
which is
I
not
see
the
where the
same.
confusion is,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're thinking of it as the dormer that's added to the back, which you see.
You can
Right.
see it
Clearly.
too.
Right?
Yeah, and that, I understand that now, yeah. But it's not, it's technically a Cape Cod house with a added dormer.
All right,
That's how we
then-
would describe
then
it.
Perhaps it's semantics that we're talking about. But the house itself, they're talking about an addition of a very non-specific structure that would alter the historic and architectural characteristics of this building permanently, because unless you stand directly in front of the door facing the road, the appearance of this house will be very much altered. And in fact, if you look at it from the water view, this house completely disappears. Only the roof and the chimney will be seen. The commission is also to assure that a new construction is compatible with the neighboring buildings. Well, the neighboring buildings are three-story houses, something that this new building cannot be, so that all this addition causes is to have the building longer in an east-west direction. If you, the historic members, pass this request, then your committee members will do so in contradiction to your own mission statement. So I ask, and I'd like an answer, what is your justification for passing on this request in contradiction to your own mission statement? All right.
Should we have the architect address that? The historical precedent for that kind of addition on a house in the district?
You mean the proposed addition?
Yes.
Yes, I mean, well, Kip, you can, maybe you could clear this up.
Is this microphone live? Yes. My principal observation would be that throughout the whole district, there are additions on the backs of houses of all sorts of configurations. And many of them are historic additions. Probably most of these houses started out as simple one-box houses. And the families grew and the kitchens improved and they put additions on the back and more additions. And they're additions of all sorts of different types, all up and down the district. And I see our proposal as simply another addition on an existing house. It's similar in style to the existing house, and it's similar in style to the other houses up and down the district. I don't know whether that answers your question. And what the gentleman is referring to as the commission's standards about additions, I mean, I don't quite follow that.
Perhaps my later reading will help you out there. This one is from my sister Suzanne Carterpeck. I believe you have a copy of it.
Yes.
And along with my brothers, I own the home at 2041 Main Road, Westport Point. As an abutter and in accordance with the Westport Point Historic District guidelines, I am submitting these written comments regarding the proposed addition to 2043 Main Road. I am requesting that the comments be read verbatim into the record at the January 9, 2023 Historic Commission hearing and be filed as an exhibit. My grandparents built the home at 2043 Main Road in 1927, and summered there for decades with 4 children. It's ironic that we find ourselves here concerned about the size and appearance of the proposed building at 2043 Main Road, when one of those 4 children was Richard Paul, the attorney responsible for the creation of the Westport Point Historic District. My parents, my 2 brothers, and I also lived in in the 1950s. That was 2 adults and 3 children. I mention this only because Mr. Califano has raised the difficulty of living there with 2 children as one of the reasons for the size of the proposed addition. In reviewing the filmed meeting of December 5th, 2022, I discovered that there were several questions raised by the audience and the members of the commission regarding the septic system at 2043 Main Road. Although the interior of the structure is not governed by the Historic Commission, it seems appropriate to answer the central question raised at that meeting. The home and the septic system at 2043 Main Road is designed for and limited to 1 bedroom. Mr. and Mrs. Califano were required by the Board of Health in 2021 to limit their home to 1 bedroom as a condition for obtaining a waiver for their new septic system. They were required to amend their deed to add a restrictive covenant that their home at 2043 Main Road can only contain 1 bedroom. Turning to the issue at hand, the comment was made at the December 5th meeting by a member that the role of the commission is not to simply deny proposed changes. We agree that this is not the commission's role. It is the commission's mandate, however, to preserve and protect the distinctive characteristics and settings of buildings and structures at the point. Our family is not opposed to a more modest addition. We would be happy to discuss a plan with the Califanos that we believe would better preserve and protect the distinctive characteristics of the existing small cave. Acting on our behalf, our cousin attorney Peter Paul has called Mr. Califano to propose such a meeting. However, the call has not been returned. To begin with, we are concerned with the accuracy of the plans that were circulated by the Historic Commission and which were presumably certified by the owner and architect show a wharf on a property that does not and has never existed. Although that error does not materially impact the proposed addition, it does make one question the accuracy of the plan drawings in general and the degree of familiarity that the owner and architecture have with the property in particular. We have been told that the footprint of the existing fine colonial Cape Cod revival home is 743 square feet. The new structure to be added is 582 square feet, not including the new terrace and fence. The new structure, consequently, is almost 80% of the existing structure. With the addition of a new terrace and fence, the proposed plan almost doubles the size of the existing footprint and is certainly a major addition. At the December 5 meeting, several members of the committee stated the addition was not incongruous with other things that have been built on the point. I think it is a dangerous precedent for the commission to be on record allowing an addition of this size to proceed. It is not because it is, quote, not incongruous with other things that have been built on the point. Assuming for a moment that this was an appropriate standard, I cannot think of any building that looks like the proposed addition from the water. The proposed addition has windows and double glass doors on the water-facing west side that are dramatically different from other homes on the point. I kayak the river at the point almost every day in the summer, and I can assure you that from the water, this addition will be incongruous with other things that have been built at the point. We were reminded at the meeting that the committee bases its judgment on what impact an addition has on the character of the historic district, on whether the addition is incongruous and whether it fits in. Members of the committee stressed that they consequently have to look at an addition in the context of what buildings are around it. Several commission members repeatedly mentioned that the size of the proposed addition would seem to fit in with the size of the adjacent buildings. However, while the size relative to the adjacent buildings is one element in determining appropriateness, it is not the only standard for determining the appropriateness of such proposed new additions. Your guidelines for the Westport Point Historic District, Section 4 is entitled Considerations in Determining Appropriateness. Subsection 4B is entitled Size, Scale, and Mass. Subsection B specifically lists other items besides the size relative to adjacent buildings that should be considered in determining appropriateness. The guidelines state that WHC shall evaluate proposed additions or new construction for appropriateness of size, scale, and mass relative to land area of the proposed project, to the existing building, to adjacent buildings in the area, and to the density of the site or area. Additions to the existing footprint should be designed so that the existing building is not rendered subordinate to the addition. Additions should be differentiated from the existing building, i.e. setback from the existing wall plane, and not obstruct the visual integrity of the original structure. Alterations and additions should be in harmony with the original building size and scale. That was all quoted, and you can tell my sister's an attorney. The discussions at the December 5 meeting focused on only one piece of the evaluation set forth in the guidelines. The committee members did not discuss the other requirements for appropriateness contained in the guidelines, that the size, scale, and mass relative to the land area and the existing building be appropriate and in harmony with the existing small cape. The proposed addition almost doubles the small cape size and dwarfs the existing lot. It is hard to see how an addition of such size can be in harmony with the existing small cape. The commission members also did not discuss the fact that the west-facing side of the proposed addition would radically change the appearance of the home from the water. The dramatically different windows and double glass doors would totally obscure the appearance of the existing small quaint cape from the water. Consequently, the proposed addition violates the requirement of the guidelines that the addition should not obstruct the visual integrity of the original structure. We hope that the January 9 committee, the meeting, that the committee will examine the proposed addition in context of these additional requirements contained in the guidelines for determining appropriateness. We sincerely hope any member of the commission who voted in favor of the addition at the December 5 meeting will reconsider their vote. Please do not disregard your own guidelines. Please reject the plan as proposed. You will be acting in accordance with the Commission's mandate to preserve and to protect the distinctive characteristics and setting of buildings and structures at the point. You will be preserving and protecting the distinctive characteristics of this small, quaint Cape Cod home. Thank you for your time. We appreciate the hard work of the Commission. Suzanne Peck. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
May I inquire who was the author of that letter?
Suzanne Carter Peck.
Okay.
Do we have other comments? No?
I just like to, my name is Peter Paul, I just like to supplement what my cousin said. This is the recorded deed restriction, June 8, 2021, signed by Greg and his wife, limiting the property to one bedroom. And I'd like that introduced as part of the record. I know that the board gets to the commission.
What's the date of that? I'm sorry.
It's June
I mean, for the year.
8, 2021.
Oh.
And I know that it's the exterior you're primarily involved with, but the issue has been brought up as to the interior and the size. And you know, I'd like to ask Greg, you have 2 children, is that correct? Or 3 children? You have 2. So when they come down, where are they going to sleep?
I don't believe that has anything to do with the question.
No, well, it's just, okay,
I will say one thing though.
yes,
Your family,
yes.
guys, you have my number, you have my email address, hold on. You've never emailed me about any of this.
I called you.
That's not true, stop. Please, I'm sorry, now look me in the eyes. That's not true.
Yes, it is.
And I've been invited over to your house for dinners and for parties. I'm very good friends with Jeff, who is also very good friends with you. He texted me when my father died, saying, I'm sorry for your loss. You could have gotten in touch with me. That's not true.
I tried.
That's not true. Please, I'm sorry that I played that.
That's not true.
I don't believe anything you're saying anymore, and that really hurts my feelings.
Hold on. I don't, this is not a forum for airing grievances, and I don't want to do that on either side, quite frankly. So let's, I think that's not appropriate for this meeting. Okay.
He should have been stopped when he said it then.
I agree, but let's leave it at that.
May I address the question about the number of bedrooms?
Yes.
A careful examination of the plans will show that the plan shows only one bedroom in the house.
That's true.
The existing bedroom will have its door removed and will not provide privacy and therefore does not meet the definition of a bedroom. The definition of a bedroom is that it's a room, it has to have, I think, 70 square feet and have a ceiling so high, and it has to provide privacy, which is why the door is left off.
Well, except, I mean, just if I may comment on that, I'm looking at it. Since it's the only room upstairs, doesn't that provide privacy?
No, it does not. There's
Okay.
no door between that room and anywhere downstairs.
Okay, fair enough.
And this is a game that's played all the time
Okay.
in building houses and counting bedrooms.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. I'm not.
So the house presently shows only one bedroom.
Okay.
And where the children sleep is not my concern or your concern.
Okay, anyone else?
I'm Bill Hunt, I live at 2039 Main. My question is sort of in a different direction. Does the addition have a full basement?
We don't know at this point.
Well, the reason I'm asking is on that property, or the canopy over that property, is a very sentimental tree that is almost 100 years old, that has been planted by Grandma Sue. And if you put a foundation in there, that tree will die within years. So has there been any consideration to preserving that tree, any precautions on what you're going to do when you hit the roots? There's no question, half of that tree canopies over this addition.
Unfortunately, we
I know
have no authority over it.
I'm just saying it from an abutter. And so my second point is, perhaps you could reach a compromise in the sense that instead of a full basement, you put a one floor addition on a slab, which wouldn't require a full basement, and it would be in keeping with everyone's wishes, and you might preserve this tree.
Whether the building has a basement or a crawl space or merely a slab, it still would require a 4-foot deep frost wall.
True.
And that's going to disturb the tree as much as a full basement. But at this point, we have not determined whether this house will be built over a crawl space, a basement, or a slab. So it hasn't been determined yet.
Well, are you of the same opinion I am, that if you put a full basement, you will destroy that tree?
I don't know enough about trees to be able to answer that.
Well, usually the root base is the same as the canopy, and you're talking about taking half of the roots out of the ground to put a basement in this house.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hi.
I'm Dorothy Paul. I live at 2048 Main Road, right across the street.
Okay.
I don't want to rehash what has been said very eloquently, especially by my cousin Susie and her brother Skip. But I think I would like this board to really focus on a couple of points that have been raised a couple of times here that we not focused on at the prior hearing, which are the two things that really jumped out at me listening to this tonight, is that the additions should be subordinate to the existing house. This is not, in my opinion, certainly. And the visual integrity of the existing house is to be preserved, and again, it is not. So those are the things that I'd like to see really addressed tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes?
Catherine Rucker, 1990 Main Road. I just want to echo again, I certainly, I want to make sure that people feel welcome to move to this neighborhood. It's a really special place to be, especially young families. Always happy to see young families moving on to the point. I would just offer that I do have to say that I can decide with Dorothy and that the massing of the addition seems to be, although it is certainly smaller than the initial proposal, and I take that, I think that helps. It is still quite dominant of a massing, and yes, I do know that all the properties on the point in this area, they do tend to be, have additions, and over the years, families have grown, and the houses have continued to telescope backwards. But I think that comes from telescoping backwards, really what they typically do, which is decrease in size as those additions are added. And I would just point that this addition does seem, even though it's, I think, 81% what you said,
Yes.
It is inarguably smaller than the massing of the main house. It does have the visual appearance of being quite large and dominant in size, almost equal in size, even though I understand that 81% is the truth. So happy to have new additions. Understand we've all grown in additions on the point. Perhaps a way to do it in a way that still keeps with the character as it was.
May I respond to that?
Please, I was going to ask you to.
The drawings admittedly make it look as massive and big as the main part of the house, which is the real reason I built this model, which I think clearly demonstrates that the addition is subsidiary to the main house. I would further comment that the notion of wonderful view of the back of the existing house, it looks awful at the back of that house.
Yeah.
And that big door on it. So I don't think we're covering up anything really precious. Thank you.
So, Kit, the way that you've stepped it back from the house, in terms of what you see from the street, can you just show us on that model?
What is it that you
Well,
Look
I'm
at it
looking
from the
at it
north
here
side.
right
That's
now.
that's the clearest view if you're going to be looking at it.
What you're going to see is, I just don't know the angle, but you're going to see
well, it depends
something
on,
like this,
yes,
right?
It depends on where you're looking at.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a house here.
There is a house there, yes.
But
And
the
there's a
north
house
side,
here.
it's more open, so you can
It's
see more.
So from looking from the north, you'll be able to see probably, well, you'd have to be in my, you'd be able to see the whole extent of it. The other house is here. You get a good shot of it, sort of like that. From the south, it's a little closer view because of the other
house.
because of the other house. But the thing to do is get your eye right down here, where you'd be on the street level.
Well, I think one of the things that maybe people are seeing is that these shed dormers on top are what makes the mass.
They do, and they make the space usable.
Yeah.
I assume you looked into a telescoping design of some kind? You considered?
I did consider it, yes.
And you couldn't make it work?
I couldn't make it work.
Yeah, and I can see why. I mean, I'm looking at it. What about the pergola? That increases the depth and the visible mass, so to speak. What would happen if you lost the pergola? I'm just thinking out loud here.
If you lost the what?
Pergola.
This is the pergola on the back here.
I think it would be,
Yeah.
I think
it
it,
adds insult to injury,
Okay.
and the fence in particular.
I mean, pergolas are used. I mean,
They are used. They are used, but in terms of massing, it increases the sense of mass without actually giving you more internal space. I mean, I'm thinking out loud here. That's
I'm
all.
more concerned, I'm more concerned with the mass
Of the addition
You don't
itself.
see the pergola, just what you see from here. And wall height, let's say, because you have the wall height here, and then you have the different wall height back there. And of course, that's to get a higher ceiling as well. I mean, I think that's what people are objecting to, is just somehow the fact that the way it's presented, I mean, I know the drawings make things look larger, and this is excellent to see it this way. And that's very helpful to us. So that is what people are basically objecting to. Not the fact that the addition is being added to the back of this house,
Well,
which is necessary to improve living in that house. But it's basically the mass, the size, and the appearance of the mass. I mean, you can have something that has size, but it will appear to be smaller. I mean,
and I assume because it's in the floodplain, you can't step down the floor.
I have stepped down.
You have stepped down the floor.
it's almost at grade then?
Yes. Well, the grade drops off very slightly.
Yeah.
Oh, oh yeah, there's 2 steps. Got it. Okay.
Okay, so in order, I mean, we know why that shed dormer is on there, and that's in order to make it a
Some
bedroom.
usable space, yes.
Yeah. And so you have a Cape Cod house, and you do something to give space above. But
If you took the dormers off, you might get a bedroom, a very small bedroom up there.
But no
But
bath.
you wouldn't get a closet, you wouldn't get a bathroom.
Right.
It really needs the dormers. And I've kept the dormers back from the gable ends, and I've
You
kept the
did.
face of the dormers back from the face of the wall down below to minimize the dormers as much as possible.
The first drawing that you had,
Here,
the 2-story
connector.
connector. And in that area, there could be bathrooms. Well, what I'm saying is that we don't see that connector. And so if the dormers were taken off and this was, you ran the roof all the way into the shed dormer on the main house, then here you would be able to put in those bathrooms and closets. I mean, I just want to know how people feel about whittling down that look, if it's possible. And Kit has said that it's possible to remove those, or maybe even one side. And we saw that connector before that was too high. What if it joined in to the roof line of the shed dormer on the main house, and then was the size of the whole, let's say, the whole, how many feet is that? Across here.
20 feet.
So it would be 20 feet, that's all.
So you're just envisioning it one straight.
That's right,
One straight.
in order to get the space and eliminate the dormers.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, that restricted, the constricted passageway between the main house and the addition would never be seen. So it doesn't really matter what happens there, or it matters less what happens there. Am I making sense?
The concerns are basically what's seen from that street. And that's our concern, because we only review from the river and public way. And so, is that what mainly your people's concern is? And the size, of course, you had mentioned.
Yeah, basically.
But with that,
The north elevation primarily.
Yeah.
so it is something that could be considered. And
Well, there's certainly room for some adjustment, but the size as it presently exists, it just seems
Well,
really out of character.
I think it's the fact that we have these two dormers.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't get a chance to.
The two dormers on the addition.
Yeah, I
That's what
Yeah,
is
These
the most
two, making
offensive.
it a two-story structure on the back rather than a one-story structure.
And I'm not an architect either, but, even shortening this addition here to make it more appropriate and subordinate to the original house. And, nobody wants to be at odds with their neighbors, and already, there's a lot of feelings here because these people owned that house, their grandparents built it and bought it and everything else. So I think it would behoove everybody to meet and talk about it and get everybody's feelings out and do that. Just a suggestion, but I do think that it's not subordinate as it is now. Big improvement from the first one we saw, and it's not personal, it's a process. We've all been on one side or the other of this, from whatever standpoint we've been in. We're here because we have values that say we have to preserve and protect it. And that's all it is, really. So suggestions just to try to rethink it one more time, maybe.
The problem that I see is that we're talking about one-story Cape Cod structures, and if you try to create a livable space on the second floor of that addition, it almost has to have dormers.
Well, maybe that's not possible to have a second floor. I mean, maybe to be subordinate, to be incongruous with the lot and with the original house, maybe it can't have a second floor.
Kit, if these dormers were slid up this way
Yeah.
and cut partly off, you'd have a dormer on both sides here, which would not be seen from a public way. And that would cut down on the mass.
You could also eliminate the second stair, perhaps.
That created my original presentation back in November.
Right,
Did eliminate the second stair.
I know.
And the problem was getting headroom
For that hallway,
for that hallway.
yeah. No, I
And
understand.
It caused the addition to be just as high as the existing house. And I did this and added the second stair.
But
in
you
order
could
to
step
get-
down a couple of steps there as well, I
Be able
suppose.
to step down, yes.
Yeah. I mean, step down on the second floor so that you get the headroom, yeah?
I think that it should be thought out a little more with input from the people that live with you. We've heard some things now that, I mean, you have to live there, so neighbors are very important. And there's got to be a compromise here somewhere.
And nobody said,
May
I
I-
didn't hear anybody say that there shouldn't be an addition tonight. They just want to get their voices out, and maybe you guys could come up with something brilliant.
May I have a moment?
Sure,
to confer?
absolutely.
Thank
Yeah.
We could just continue it, if they agree. Otherwise, we have to take a vote.
Yeah, we can do it one way or the other.
I mean, even if we vote to deny because of the...
That pergola?
See, we have to propose, what I was trying to do is just make the others feel that, we were making some kind of...
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I think it's bad to have bad feelings between neighbors, and if we can broker
Take an agreement, we can...
yeah.
The other way would be to...
That doesn't show on any of this.
for another meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be the same thing, so they,
Oh, I want
it's
them
in
to
their interest to
clarify
agree.
that then. I want them to they're gonna board this up? They're gonna-
Well, he's dismissed.
I'm gonna ask him about this.
No, I think that can work.
It's not a full barrel.
No, but,
They
right, effectively, it's gonna
make it
enhance.
another 10 feet.
Yeah, because this is fine with me. It's open, it looks fine.
I think
That's not
it
what
could be
they're
made to
planning
work,
do then.
What's that?
what we're discussing
I
here.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all the fact that,
What is this here? I
That's
thought
what
that's
you're
what you
saying.
meant
Oh, I
when you said
understand.
fencing.
And it's
and
not,
that's what the neighbors feel.
They essentially have never been 10-foot room down here. I mean, with fencing, it's going to
But this was, did you know that? They're gonna board this up?
yes, they're putting a fence on either side, but we have no control
Yeah, we
over
don't have
fences,
control.
remember?
but it is.
And that was
It is a
that was
structure.
due
We
to
have
the
a
people in
Short
this room.
distance between us,
No, I mean,
closed inside.
well,
But to your point, at least eliminate that. I mean, effectively coming down Main
Because that
Road, that leaves the
elongates
room another
everything.
10 feet longer.
Yeah, then it becomes
Because
more
you're
of a
looking,
ring.
you're not gonna see that much. I mean, that's the,
Well, if this is, yeah, if this is closed up here.
oh, I see.
You're gonna look at.
No, I think take it straight back, like that,
Yeah.
and go up. Dormers close to the house, where the other old
So
dormer is, which are
it's just
ugly
not
anyway.
visible from there.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that working.
We'd like to ask for a continuance so that we can take under consideration some of the comments.
We appreciate the fact that you've asked for the continuance, and should we do we have a motion?
I move that we have a continuance on it.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're all in favor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Because it would be nice if we could get something that was at least somewhat acceptable to everyone.
We'll try, Thank you.
And thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It's going to be continued to February. That's February 6th.
I had no idea about it.
Okay. What?
Pardon? No, that's another thing. Illumin, no, that's somebody else. We'll let you know about that.
Okay, so we have a gutter issue.
Yeah, we have another. Okay. 2047 Main Road. Hi. That's someone else. Excuse me, yeah, try it for you.
Did my inquiry about Linwood Way get through to the commission or not?
About what?
I was going to bring that up as new business because it was too late to get it on the agenda. Okay, you want to do that? You know what? Somehow, I don't see 2047 Main Road here tonight. Do we not have 2047?
There may not be much air in the room.
What?
There may not be much air in the room for this.
Well, but if they're not here, we can't hear it. So we will do a continuance on 2047 Main Road. I don't know where they are, but fine. And let's talk about the next issue, which is Windward Way. Did you bring the?
I didn't bring anything.
Oh no, I didn't either. I figured you'd bring it. I'm sorry.
I figured I would too, but I forgot.
Okay, I understand. Well, let's. Okay. Here, we have a new item of business here that Kit would like to present to us.
Okay.
Oh wait, on the 2047, I guess we have to vote if we're going to continue this. So
Wait, if they haven't appeared, what do we do?
I think I'm suggesting we continue it.
Well, nobody's here, right?
Right, they're not here, and I don't know why, but you know, it's no skin off our nose to continue.
No, okay.
Continue.
Okay.
So do I have a motion?
I move we continue 2047.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. Okay,
Oh, is that 2047?
No, I'm sorry.
it's 2043.
Windward Way,
Oh, wait, you printed it out, thank you.
This is the Does everybody know where Windward Way is?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's off Cape Bile Lane.
Yes.
This is a Von Bar's house, which is way down at the very end. And we're proposing, here's the site.
Is that the John Miller house?
No, no, it's way at the end.
It's
And it-
way down at the end, past the tennis court.
I think it's two down
Come
there,
in.
what do I know?
And I,
Here. Oh, I see, I know where that is.
there's an existing garage running into the house.
Right.
And it presently looks like this with a garage door here and a double
Double steel door.
double steel door. And we're proposing only to take out the double steel door and put in a one light glass door and a window next to it. It's completely,
And I'm pretty sure that this is not visible from any public way.
No.
I don't.
And if that's the case, you can just do an application
It's
for.
an
Well,
improvement. I
wait,
think.
what is a public way? I mean, these are not public ways.
That's
What
not
do
a
we-
public way, only up
Is it
here,
visible
only up
from
here
the
is your public way.
Is it visible now? I don't think so.
Is that true? These are all
They're all
private
Yes,
roads.
this is a private way here, and this is not actually Windward Way. It's Mrs. Barr's driveway.
That's a drive, right.
This is Mrs. Barr's driveway.
Okay,
So
so,
this is the only public way.
You can put dormers on it for all we care.
So
well,
it's-
that would be a certificate of non-applicability.
Non-applicability, yes. It qualifies for certificate of non-applicability, but I wanted to make sure that everyone agreed with me. Do we have to vote on that? I don't think we do, because it's clear.
Well, that would be done by the clerk.
Okay, yes. So
Okay.
You put in a certificate of non-applicability,
Yes,
okay, and it'll be approved.
Okay, thank you.
Then, can I return to some of the,
Is a check not required for a certificate of non?
That's correct.
Okay, then I'll throw a check back. Thank you.
It's a certificate of non-applicability, what's the address?
7A Windward Way.
7A Windward Way. So it's
That's
just,
a rubber band.
next.
Deborah,
Thank you.
have you been approved yet?
Yes, and unanimous.
Well, then what are you doing back there?
I was at a select meeting earlier, that's why I was late coming here.
You mean that's when they just approved you?
Yeah, tonight.
Well, welcome then, come join
I
us,
still
come sit with
have to do
us.
some kind of swearing in or something.
Do you? But from whom, by
I have to be
whom?
sworn in by the clerk.
Her? No, must be some other
I'm
clerk.
not swearing anybody in.
No,
Town clerk, okay, so you're actually not, okay, so you're actually not official yet.
Not officially
But,
yet.
but give
Close. It's
give
close.
Robert
Welcome.
all your details so that he can
Okay.
create a new member list.
Okay, great. Welcome to that.
Great.
Very good.
Now we just gotta get Kat on board.
What else do we have? Monitors report.
Another name tag.
I have a monitor's report.
Wonderful.
Okay.
1868, they are asking, and Garrett and I were there on Sunday, and they're asking to change what we had originally planned for their deck, which was horizontal strips of cedar
Right.
along
I
the back.
remember,
This is what we approved.
yeah.
They want to
Do a standard rail.
Yeah, because cedar is difficult to get now and super expensive.
Now, what is the composite, what is it going
What
to be
house
made
is
out
this?
of?
Whatever that
What
PVC
is
stuff
PVC?
is, yeah.
I think it's
That could be
18.
painted, but
The,
it's very low key.
the handrail?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that the one on the
Yeah.
corner of Drift Road and Main Road?
Yeah, it's the one
Is
in the
that
corner.
Ursula?
So you're showing what it's going to look like?
Yeah, that's an example of what they're gonna use, what they wanna use.
Yeah.
You don't
Well, that's good. I mean, I don't know if I have this with me. We are always gonna get into that situation too.
The PVC, you mean?
Well, yeah, and we have, but I've done some research here
It's
on that. And there are some
usually
companies,
better than what was there.
that, see, the problem with it is the joint. And some of them will have a very, very bulky joint where they connect into the post.
The joint, and it's also kind of shiny. I mean,
Well,
quite
that's the other
frankly,
part
that's
of it,
the-
too.
What they're planning to use
It's a
is,
matte,
yeah,
a matte
it's
PVC?
meant to be painted, I guess.
Oh,
So if it's done, what I'm seeing there, that way, I think that could be acceptable to the commission. And that's what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we sort of thought we could approve it anyway, because we thought that it was fine, but no.
We may get approval, but let's go through it. Okay, so, let me look at that again. So, will it be painted, or will it be just, I guess it's already white, it doesn't
It's
need to
white,
be
and the
painted.
trim on the house is white.
The trim on the house is white.
The windows are, not painted,
And
so
it
it's the
does have
same.
some detailing, and it doesn't look too,
They were,
that doesn't look bad, actually.
Well, that's one of the best. See,
That's
that's
a
what
good
I,
that's
one.
what they're
That's a good
planning
one.
to use.
Yeah.
that's what I was trying
Yeah,
to,
okay, so show it to everyone else, and then let's see if we can get
that's
a
what it
motion.
should look like.
And then you'll get you out, get Michael out of the hot water he's in, for having approved
This
something
one.
without coming to
The
us.
only difference is on those is that the posts are actually larger than the standard posts that are used
Those
on
are,
wooden.
they're using,
Because they go over the top of a pesher tree that,
Right.
right,
it's a sleeve.
these are
Right.
5 inches, 5.5 inches, I
Yeah.
believe.
Oh, so that's not so
Because there
bad.
was someone that had a thicker one in the neighborhood, and we said it would be better if it was thinner.
Yeah,
than
that's a
that.
problem, that they can get very thick.
Yeah.
Okay,
Usually you use
so if
4
it's
by
like
4.
that, is the answer.
That's what I'll tell her. It has to be this one. Okay.
Do we have a motion?
I move we adjourn.
No,
Nope,
no,
nope,
you gotta
can't
approve
adjourn.
this.
I move we accept the new railing and
The change to our approved plan for, what's the address?
1868.
1868 Main Road. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Now, do we have any applications for certificates of non-applicability other than the one Kit brought before us? Okay. Very good. Do we have any new business?
I have new business.
Very good. Whoops.
I have we're not sure if we have to do this either. This is about the town farm. We are submitting a project sheet to the CPC for some major repairs on the town farm.
Right.
Gutter work, soffits, and so this is just the application that I'm sharing with you guys. We thought we should get your approval just in case. But it's going to, it's already been sent to Betty Slade and,
Let everybody look at it.
yeah.
Here. Send those on, Bill. Okay. We've reviewed this project?
Yes, we do.
we do.
We
We
did?
pick, did we review the project?
Yeah.
No.
It says yes here on this application.
Well, I was there with Tony Millam and, Jim Arnett the other day.
Yeah. Keep that one.
I guess this is what, I mean, don't we?
You mentioned gutters, you might consider that fiberglass.
Oh, this is for us to submit, once we
Yeah.
have approved it. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's review it. So we're reviewing it now.
Okay,
Is that where we are?
yeah.
Okay, good. Do we have photos?
I didn't print those out.
Okay,
Drawings,
yeah.
anything.
You have to trust me that those gutters are in rough shape.
Now, it says the soffit fascia and gutters. Do we know, is that a wooden gutter that's there?
They are wooden.
And what are they planning to replace them with?
The estimate that we have is for PVC.
Fiberglass,
Yes.
PVC?
Not those things. PVC, yes.
Okay. will
Which
it have
which
it-
we approved for the front of the building
Oh, we did?
2 years ago.
Okay, if we approved it for the front of the building, then it's the right profile. That's where I was going on this.
On the fascia boards that are damaged, what material are you using?
I would imagine the same thing.
PVC?
AZAC, yeah.
Good.
Asphalt shingles. Well, this is all replacing with
Like
the
for
same,
like.
like for
Yeah.
like.
Yep.
So I'm fine with approving this, but anybody else have any thoughts?
I'm
No, I think that's, I mean, it's fine. I mean,
Okay.
this is what has to be done.
Okay,
Yeah.
then do I hear a motion?
I motion to accept,
To sign this project submission sheet, because it's
Okay.
coming from us, yes? What
Well,
is it? What are we doing here? Or do I just,
It's-
no, it's
it's
just
been
whether
s-
we've reviewed it. Okay.
yeah,
minute,
it's
thi-
been sent to Betty Slade
this
already.
is,
Okay.
this is going to the PC,
CPC.
CPC.
okay. So that means it's coming before us only for our review.
Because we oversee the farm.
Right,
Right.
and, yes, okay, very good. So, good, there was a motion, do I hear a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's like pulling teeth sometimes.
I was also, for some more new business, which I
Good.
don't know if it's appropriate now, but
Yeah.
Garrett asked me to ask if we might consider going to off-site meetings again. So that more, if somebody was away, we could still have the meetings.
Yeah, somebody else asked me about that, if we could Zoom. them
You
in.
know,
I don't
Bob,
understand
do you
what-
know if the
Zoom
town
meetings.
is still
Zoom somebody
permitting?
in.
Some group
That,
is.
yes, the town is still permitting it. Okay, that's the first that's the first threshold.
Yeah.
We were never good with the off-site meetings, if you remember correctly.
I said I
mean-
would ask.
But we can do it by phone, but then they can't see what we're looking at. Actually, we could probably do it by FaceTime or something, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do it, we could do a FaceTime or a Zoom or something, couldn't we? Oh, okay, I'm proposing not to do entirely off-site, which is
Okay.
what we were doing for a while, because that's a
Challenge.
royal pain in the
Yeah,
ass.
that's tonight.
And doesn't, and it never got recorded, apparently.
Oh,
So, but anyway,
okay.
so,
But somebody did ask me if they were, unable to attend,
could they Zoom?
Could they
And-
Zoom
And if the
in?
town permits it, I don't see any reason why we can't do it. It just, we have to be forewarned so that we can bring the appropriate laptop or whatever we need to do it with.
She didn't phone in, though. We didn't.
She did, it's a couple times she
Oh,
did.
she did?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have a laptop? Could you bring it if we're gonna do a Zoom?
Is the Zoom account still active?
Well, we didn't
No,
have Zoom, we had something
No, we had
else.
something else, and it never really worked. It was Google Meet, was it?
Google
But-
Meets, yeah.
So, well, we can just hook someone in, FaceTime, it doesn't matter what we
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
And, because we're not talking everybody, we're talking one person, maybe two,
Mhm.
and I think that works.
Okay.
So, here's the deal, if someone's not going to be here but would like to attend the meeting nonetheless, they have to give me prior notice so I can notify Bob so he can bring his laptop. Everybody good on that?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Good.
If we're doing something like tonight, and someone wants to make, you're talking about someone who can't make the meeting.
That's correct.
Wants to do a presentation.
Or just be here to vote.
No, he's talking about members. He's talking about members, not,
Well, right, okay, because sometimes we've had.
I think it gets too
people- That's
complicated
too complicated.
if we've got
Tonight.
No,
people
no,
trying to make
it
presentations.
can't because
Zoom
no one
that.
can, we gets to, yeah.
It's hard to see it.
Yeah, as far as members go, sure.
Okay, good. So yes,
The only change is you have to do all roll call votes.
all roll, yes, and I can do that. Yeah. Because we'll have that new list, because Deborah will give you all her particulars. And you know that Henry is no longer on the commission. He's leaving town. I'm
Where's he
afraid.
going?
Georgia, St. Mary's Island?
He has resigned.
Huh?
He resigned.
He-
Yes. Yes, he has resigned. He called me and said he was resigning.
Oh,
So,
I have some more new business maybe.
okay.
Sorry.
Another possible
I usually never
member?
say anything.
Another possible member?
Yeah, well, potentially. Somebody asked me if they would love to come back, but they're only here sort of part of the time.
But if they can do Zoom meetings, that might work.
That's
Yes.
okay, yeah.
So
Well,
who are we
as a-
talking about? Or just
Dora
doesn't-
Milliken.
Sure.
As an
Dora.
alternate.
Oh, Dora. Oh,
As
yeah,
an
that'd be great.
alternate.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought Dora, oh yeah,
She
yeah,
can
Dora
sing.
can
She
do
spends
that.
part of her
She's in
time
Hawaii,
now.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Dora can be a member if she wants.
Okay.
I mean, I think everybody else agree with you? How do
Yeah,
people
no,
feel about this?
I vote yes.
Well, we can discuss it and, you know, whatever. Okay. Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Do I hear a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.